going to look at what is it, why would I want it, and how does it work. And then we're going to follow that. We'll go directly into the Wellspring Print Boss software. Same questions. A little bit about Report Manager. It's a product developed by Technisoft out of Australia. They're the folks that design the Service Manager software. And the Report Manager is a separate product that actually works with Service Manager and all of the modules inside of Sage. It is built to work with custom crystal reports. Custom crystal report can be run from the Sage 300 desktop as it is, but with the addition of the Report Manager adds some functionality and some features that really do improve it. The Report Manager doesn't replace the Report Designer. It simply adds functionality to it. And specifically, one of its big pushes is the parameters that we enter when we run the report to define what the report is going to look like or what's going to be included on the report. In addition to that, Report Manager also provides a scheduling facility that allows you to email the reports to via a schedule. So it can automate the delivery of reporting, the crystal reports anyway, within the organization. It's not really, I mean, you could design it to send out emails to customers and vendors and so on, but I think its primary focus is within the organization itself. Now, and another piece is that it allows us to build groups. So that being said, we're going to have a look at it. And I started by looking at here at a crystal report. I put this crystal report together as a sample, custom crystal report. And basically what it is it is a list of customers by salesperson 1 on the customer account. And some basic information about them along with any transactions, any sales transactions that they have occurred throughout their history with the company. Now, among other things, there's some parameters inside here for the crystal reports. And these are basically parameters that are selected when we run the report. Now, once this report was designed, I simply added it to my desktop inside of accounts receivable under custom reports. And basically it's sitting right here. Okay. Now, I can run the report by simply double-clicking on it. And this is without Report Manager now. This is just basic running a custom report from the desktop. And by the way, to add something like this, you simply click New, and then you select the report, you give it a title, and you go over and select your report file. And this is what you end up with. Okay. Now, I'm printing the preview, which is fine. When I run this report, I get the crystal screen opens up, but it also shows me the crystal parameters that are in the report that I need to select and change. Now, I might say, well, whether I want to show detail or not, and I'm going to say no. And that doesn't matter because I'm not showing credit notes, doesn't matter. Now, I'm going to select all my salespeople, and I also get to choose a range of customers. Now, it shows me the customer number here now, and this is sample data we're working with. So once I select this information, I hit OK, and the report generates, and it shows on the screen. So this is just showing me, the first salesperson is Bill, and this is his customers, what state the customer is in, the last time they purchased something, and their balance due right at the moment in AR. So, and the same for each one of the salespeople. Okay. Now, and that's not too bad, except this whole filling out this deal here is a little tricky. And if this, if salespeople got added to the system, the report would have to be updated to include them in here. Likewise, on this screen where you're looking for the customer, you would have to know the customer name, or number rather, in order to select it correctly. So, little kind of kludgy there. And frankly, I don't think it looks very nice, actually. So anyway, so the point here is that it's that report that I built into Report Manager. Report Manager is over here. And I'm in as administrator right now. I'm logged in as administrator, I think. Yep, as administrator. So I can do whatever I like as far as inside the Report Manager. But I've got a couple of reports out here. One of them is that customer transactions report that I just talked about. And there's another one out here. It's an inventory report. I just put it just out here just so there was another report here, because I can actually build groups inside this interface and then add the various reports to the groups. And I also tell it who has what access to what as the administrator. Now, from the user standpoint, this is the administration screen. From the user standpoint, if I go up here and I say change the user mode, this is what the user mode looks like. So if another user logged into Sage and they went into the Report Manager, this is what they would see. And they would see any reports that were available to them. Now, and they can be grouped in any way you want, by module, by function, by whatever. You know, you just create the groups that you want. Now, if I double click on this, excuse me, can't do that from here. If I click on print, it shows me this. Now this is a screen that I built inside of Report Manager to interface with that report. Now, among other things, I can, these have finders that are built into this. So if I click on the finder, salesman report, I've got a default to all, but I can also click on the finder and it shows me, you know, an actual Sage 300 finder, and this is the salesperson's list. Okay. Now, also, I have the from customer to customer. So I can click on the finder. Whoops. I'm going to look at something else. I'm going to look at Bill Basin. If I click on the finder, it shows me a list of Bill's customers. In fact, the way I designed this one, and it's something, another unusual deal with this is the customer range can be dependent upon the salesperson. So in other words, when I click on the finder inside of the customer from, this shows me only customers from sample data that have Bill as the salesperson. If I were to change it to, let's say Dan, it only shows me customers related to Dan. Okay. So, and it doesn't have to be designed that way, but I did that just to show you that it can be done. Now, I'm going to put it back to all. Have a show purchase history. I print, and it pops open and runs the report. So, this, of course, looks similar to what the other one was. I mean, it's the same report, but it's I'm showing detail in this case. And this is just how you run it. It's different. Now, I'm going to go back to the Report Manager again. I'm in as administrator, and it's in here where we set up, because I want to show you a little bit about how we define what the report does inside a Report Manager. And we give it a report title, of course. This is the file name, which is actually the Crystal report. And if I click on Crystal up here, it'll open this report inside of Crystal Reports. Now, of course, you have to own Crystal Reports, but you can actually do modifications to the report from inside Report Manager. I can also put in a description here. sales history since the customer. Sure, if I could spell. Started with us. Anyway, now down here, each one of these is a parameter. These are those parameters that we looked at back over in this crystal report. You got these 5 parameters here. Well, inside of Report Manager understands those parameters. In fact, when you load the report into this system, it actually looks at the report and figures out what the parameters are and puts them on here for you. Then it's just a matter of changing what these are. Okay, so under the salesman, I said, it's visible of course, prompting, the prompt text is what shows on the screen. It is a finder, and I define what finder it's using. And all the finders are available to be used. And you can put in the default value. This guy, screen position, is telling us it's on the left-hand side of the window on row 1. Okay. Now, if I look at this, that's what that is, left-hand side of the window and row 1. Now, looking at these 2 guys, next thing I have up here is customer beginning, which is customer from and customer to, and I have those in row 3. I skipped a row, just for appearance, and the customer on the left and customer 2 on the right. And that's what this is. That's what these 2 guys are right here. That's how they're shown. These 2 are checkboxes. And if I click on this, what is it? It's a checkbox, which basically is a yes or no. If it's yes, if it's checked. These are the different types of fields I can have on here, besides finders, and a dependent finder, as I mentioned a minute ago. You can have pull downs, date fields, just a text field, you type stuff in. And you can also have system variables. A system variable might be a path, company ID, that sort of thing. So it could be a bunch of different things. So the point is that this allows you to build the screen. And once the screen is built, you can test it, of course. Now, the crystal report, before you add it to the report manager, must exist already. You know, you can't. In other words, it would have to. The report would have to exist. You can build it while you're doing it, but the report would typically exist first, and then we add the report manager front end to it. Now, also up here, we define access, and we can define schedules. In fact, and there's another little guy here called processing, but talking about access for a minute. If I look at this one, and I click on user access, I've got all users. If I click on this other inventory report that I threw on here, user access, only administrator. So just to show you what happens with that, if I go out here and I'm going to log into, there's myself. And if I'm a user now instead of the admin, so if I click on Report Manager, well, I get that screen that I showed you a minute ago, and I have access to the customer transaction, but I don't have any access to that inventory report because it wasn't assigned to me. Okay. So that's one of the features of the product. And I can, from here, I can print it, of course. I just get my same screen. All right. Now, let me go back into admin again. And one of the choices you select when you're setting up a report is what you want the destination to be and whether the orientation is portrait or landscape. Now, the destination could be the printer, of course, preview, which is what I have it set to at the moment, or email. Now, if I had it set to email, what that means is that every time someone prints it, it's going to want to email it. It doesn't even show it on the screen. Okay? So, in fact, I'll show you what that does. I'm going to change that. I'm going to accept that. And I'll hit print. And we'll print it for all. Well, I'll put the whole thing. Okay. And ask me for an email address. Okay. We'll put it in my email in there. This is like a one-off type thing, so I'm going to send that. And it generates with the selection criteria that I set up. Okay. It's trying to send it to email via my Outlook. So I'm going to allow that. All right. Now, if I go back in my email, don't know if it's going to be there just yet, but nope. I have to give it a minute. Okay. Now, also under here is scheduling. Now, here you build a schedule, and it might be the email as an example. Could be other stuff too. But here I just give it a title, what days, what time of day it's going to do this. And I also say, what do I want? Do I want it just to print out? Because I can schedule a report or a bunch of reports actually, just on some particular time of day, automatically run and print. Create a PDF file only, or to email it. And if I'm going to email it, I got to tell it where I'm sending it to. Okay. So once I've established this, I then go into parameters and say, well, what do I want for the parameters? I want it to, I don't know, print Dan, and I don't care about details. Save that. So the point there is that when I schedule it, I'm also telling it what parameters I want included on that report when it runs. And I publish this, and when that time of day comes around, it'll run. This uses the Windows Task Manager, by the way. So that has to be, you have to have permissions to use that on the workstation. If you're sending it to a remote server, it's likewise type setup. So, but anyway, so that's what this does. Okay? And another piece is processing. I don't have anything set up for this, but basically what this means is that you can add a pre-process to the report. As an example, some reports that I build require a program to be run to actually gather data. Like the report itself might be based on a CSV file, and I'll write a process that someone runs that creates that database file, and then the report is run from it. Well, that's an example of some pre-print processing. I tell it what the executable is and so on and so forth. And this is built into the report generation. So when you go to print, if it has a pre-processing situation, that pre-process is run, and then the report is printed. So that's pretty well covered there. All right. I think it's about burned up around 25 minutes. So I think I'm going to kind of move on. I'm going to leave it here as far as the report manager is concerned, and you can ask questions about it later on.